Hello people, so today I'm gonna talk about LFR. You might ask what is an LFR? LFR is a line following robot. I made this LFR using an op amp. Arduino can also be used, but in this project we were told to use an op amp, so had to use an op amp. I used LM393. You can also use different op amps. I used IR sensors. LDRs can also be used. The op amp works on comparator mode, or you can also call it comparison mode. What it basically does is it compares the two voltages, output voltages that are generated through the IR sensors, and tells the motors to turn depending on the voltage. It generates output voltages. We use motors in here, and again voltages are generated and tells the motors to turn depending on the voltage. Well, this is the block diagram of the basic functionality of how it works. We use two IR sensors. They reflect the light and generate output which goes to the op amp, and it compares the two values and tells the motors to turn depending on the voltage that is generated from here. Well, using this basic block diagram, we make the schematic and the PCB layout. This is the pinout of the op amp that I used. It has terminals for its input. It compares both of the inputs and then it generates output voltages depending on it, and it tells the motors to basically turn and work. So this is the basic pinout of the op amp. The total cost of making this LFR was 2000 PKR or $7.18. So it was very cheap to make, and it was a good experience making this project, and it taught me a lot. So this is the schematic capture of LFR. Here, as we all can see, this is the op amp LM393 that I used. By looking at the pinout of the op amp, we can see that the pins 3 to 5 and 6 are the input terminals. They are connected together, and pin 1 and 7 are the output terminals. They give out output signals to the motors to work. These are the IR emitters, and here I use these photodiodes, but obviously the simulation wasn't working, so I had to use these logic toggles here to run the simulation. As we all can see that when I turn off this logic toggle, uh, only one of the motor works, and the LED also turns on, telling us that it is turning right now. And as you all can see, the voltage here dropped to 0, and when I turned it on, both of them are getting the voltage. This is the simple principle of comparison or comparator on which this LFR works. And moving on to the PCB layout, this is the PCB layout that I used. This is the LM393 that I used here. Uh, these are the variable resistors, RV12, Q1, Q2 are the transistors. These are the IR sensors that I used, LEDs, and yeah, this is the PCB layout. It can be improved. This was one of the reasons why um, the LFR didn't work. So yes, I am working on improving my PCB layout making. This was a single layer PCB, so that's why I had to use a few jumper cables in here. So yeah, this is the whole PCB layout of LFR. So after making the PCB layout, I laser printed it on this photo paper. Butter paper I used, it wasn't very good, so now I'm using this photo paper. And after printing it out on the photo paper, we take a PCB sheet and we place it on the PCB sheet accurately. I have already done this, so I'm kind of roughly showing it how it's done. and I used an iron to press it. There are different methods to print the PCB layout on the sheet. You can use a nail toner or nail remover to print it on the PCB sheet as well. You first of all cut the PCB sheet to your desired length and to the dimensions you need, and I pressed it and it printed on the PCB sheet, and then I etched it in ferric chloride. And after that you clean it with some petrol, or you can use isopropyl alcohol in here, and after that place the components and solder them. So this is the LFR after the completion. I placed all the components, I soldered it. Let me show the bottom layer of it. So I burnt it in a few places due to some soldering problems I had, and it didn't work actually. So the reason behind of it not working was these transistors. At first I used S8550. Those transistors weren't very good at providing the current to these motors, so I had to change these transistors to 2N2907. I resoldered these components and I burned the tracks, so it didn't work. So this was the failure I faced. From this failure I'm gonna learn, and I'm gonna remake this LFR in probably 2 weeks after my exams, and inshallah it's gonna work smoothly, and I will for sure make a video about it.